All right, let's do some dynamic stretching. Wake ourselves up a little bit. Start with quads, a couple seconds on each. Focus on activating through your feet. If you're barefoot, use all your toes. Grab the ground while you're doing your opposite leg. And then knee to chest. So I really like to spend a lot of my money on plastic physical therapy things that cost way more than they should. But there's this new thing called a Mobo board that Chris knows what I'm talking about because Erin has one. That basically
Paula Finley's on that.
Yeah, I saw her post actually. But I tried it and so your big toe is on the board and it's like a balancing board kind of thing. And then your little toes go in a hole so they can't grab and they can't do any work for you. And you have to focus on stabilizing with your big toe. And it just feels like all of the right things happening in your feet. So if anybody was like, should I spend $90 on a pointless piece of wood? The answer is yes, you should. It works really well.
No, you should not. It sucks.
Yeah. Or you could just go to Erin and have him force you to use it, right, Chris?
Yeah, just needle my whole body. No big deal.
Yep. There you go. How are we feeling this morning? Are we tight? Feeling good?
Good.
We're kind of always tight, right? It's like what being a triathlete's all about. All right, lunge and reach back. Focus on keeping your glute engaged so that you're actually stretching through your hip flexor muscles and not just the joint when you don't engage your glute. All right, we're going to stick with the lunges, but now twist towards the outer one. So you can either put your elbow on the outside of that knee, or if your thoracic spine isn't really into that, you can put a hand on the ground, not twist as much, and then open up from there. All right, hamstrings. So let's just do front to back hamstring kicks first. Grab a wall if you need help balancing. And don't feel like you need to try to not grab a wall. There's really no, usually the wall gives you more help balancing so that you can get more range of motion, which is more important than focusing on the balancing right now. And then hand to side. Taylor, is that your music?
Oh, sorry. Here, I'll mute it. I'll mute.
Okay. All right, we're gonna do some sunflowers because who doesn't love a good sunflower? So interlock your elbows, hands around your elbows, and then just make as big of a circle as you can make. So make sure you really stretch up through each side. Take your time swinging through the bottom, get range of motion stretches the whole way around. Let's do 4 each way. Make sure you're breathing. Once you get 4, switch directions. This should be one of the things that make you realize, oh, I should stretch the sides of my body. Okay. All right, so first one, we're gonna use like a light weight if you have one. So something like a 5 to a 10-ish would be a good place to start. We're gonna do back flies. So if you know kind of like what your back fly weight is, something like that. So a couple of different ways to do this. The number one is you can have one of your legs elevated onto a bench. So while we're doing the back flies, we would look like this. Or you could just not put your leg on something and balance it. Either one is good. And we can talk about why each one is good for each thing. But for now, grab your weight. So when we do this thing with our back leg, what I want you guys to pay attention to is to not have your front foot out so far that your hips can't be exactly square facing forward. And the other probably more important thing is that whichever leg is down, you shouldn't have to be like rounding your back and doing a posterior pelvic tilt in that position. You should still be able to get a good neutral spine alignment from there. So once you figure that all out, we're doing alternating back flies. So you have one dumbbell. You're gonna go back fly one side, back fly the other side. And we're alternating this way. So you're gonna have to stabilize through your obliques. We're gonna do 8 each side. Or you could do what Taylor's doing and you just have 2 dumbbells. That's a perfectly also a good way to do it. And we're just worrying about whatever leg. We're all gonna remember what leg we're doing right now because we're just doing this one leg on the first set. So you'll notice this is a back fly exercise, but probably your butt hurts a little bit, which is my favorite way to exercise is trick all your muscles into working at one time. And if you are feeling this in the leg that's down, mostly on the lateral outer part of your leg, see if you can push down more from your big toe. And that should activate the kinetic chain that goes all the way up your hip adductors, which are medial inner muscles. So we're doing 8 each side and we're all gonna remember what leg we did because we're gonna come back to it on the second set and do the other one, but after a different thing. Okay. All right, once we're done 8, we're gonna keep our same weights and we're gonna get down into like a Russian twist position, which means you have either your heels down or up. Start with them down, that's easier. You have your weight, you're gonna lean back so that your back is flat and your core is engaged, and we're gonna do the same kind of thing. You're gonna let your body twist open one way with the weight, grab it back at the middle, let it twist open to the other way. Focus on keeping your back flat. We're doing 8 each side for these 2. Your back and core are gonna get tired and they're gonna try to do this roundy thing and then nothing good is happening. So focus on that more than the weight, more than the twist. If having your heels down allows you to get more range of motion on the twist, do that. Otherwise, if you can have your feet up and still get good range of motion, still keep your legs stable while your upper body's twisting, then pick your feet up. It's just a little bit more core challenge involved. And we're also going to notice if maybe we need heavier weights in the second set. All right, we're going to go back just these 2 in this set. So pick your other leg for the back flies. Same amount of reps, 8 each side. Maybe you notice, like, is it harder to maintain your neutral spine on one leg? That just means you need to stretch more, and we can talk about where. But again, focus on your big toe. See if you can create the same amount of stability and activation going up both the medial and lateral parts of your leg. Focus on your core activation. That's why we're doing this alternating thing. so that your obliques have to help you stabilize. You should be surprised at how much your leg isn't enjoying this. Ooh, Chris with the ball. That's a really good call. You guys have a ball. That's another great way to do this, because then it's like you have support, but not really. Okay. Once we get our 8, Amber is already moving on. You go to rest and twist. You're good, Amber. You do you. So when we're doing flies, if our weight is too heavy, a lot of times we'll have a tendency to keep our elbow really tucked in and just protect it like that. So what a fly is, it's like this hug a tree motion. Like you're keeping your elbows out and wide, so you're getting range of motion and stretching at the same time you're doing it. So make sure your elbows stay open when you're doing this fly. If you can't and you have to tuck your elbow in, that means your weight is too heavy for a fly, which is fine. You're doing a different exercise. It's just that it's different. 8 each side. All right, that's our first set. Okay, so somehow I've made it through 3 full neck strength sessions without doing hip cars yet, so today's the day. Today we're gonna do some hip cars. So if you guys are my athlete, you know what a hip car is. Otherwise, I've failed miserably. All right, so we are in a pretzel situation on the ground. We have 90-degree bend in our knees and both legs. And then what a hip car is, I think the best way to start is by focusing on this back leg and pressing your hip forward so that you squeeze this back glute muscle. And like maybe you just do that a couple times and be like, okay, what is supposed to activate? If it's up here and in front, that's your TFL. That's not what we want to activate. It's back farther. So you should feel it in your glute. The thing that helps me do it is not just the pushing forward, but it's the lifting of my back heel off the ground. When I do that, I press my hip forward, I lift my back heel. It's like a pretty obvious activation. So then the hip car part, once you feel all those right muscles working, is the first thing we do is we lift from our foot first. Before we start bringing anything forward is the lift. And then you swing it all the way around in front, have your leg come straight out in front of you, bring it all the way back, like push it back, and then drop your knee and your foot at the same time. So up, lead with your foot, all the way around in front. Let's do 10 each leg. So it's the controlled lifting and setting down. That's like really where you get that good activation in your glute med. You should be nice and slow if you're just like swinging your leg around. You guys are all good, all look good, but keep them slow. And then once you get 10, switch sides. And maybe we think about on the second set, what would it be like if I was holding a weight? Would that be manageable? Make sure you set your foot down far enough back that it's getting that glute med and it's not, your TFL is not trying to trick you into letting it do all the work like it likes to do. Taylor's over hip cars, just going straight to fire hydrants, which is cool because we're going to do more of those at the end. Okay. Once we get all 10, you guys are good. Take your time. The next thing we're going to do is a back lunge with a twist, and we're going to need a weight for that. I would say 10-pound is a good minimum amount of weight for that. 15 is maybe a better starting place. If you're super strong, maybe 20. So back lunge with a twist. We're gonna alternate legs. So you're gonna have your weight start up by your chest. Kettlebell is a good thing to do this with. Back lunge, focus on your stabilization, and then you're gonna twist towards the leg that's forward, and you're gonna keep your knee stable. So when you twist, especially when you're using momentum like I want you to do, your knee is gonna try to come with you. And I want you to use your knee stabilizers to oppose that force. So we're alternating sides. You're getting a good twist in, but all of those muscles, we're doing 8 each leg, by the way. All those muscles are doing everything they can to keep your leg stable. I don't know what those things are called, but if you guys have ever seen, it's like this long thing in the gym. It's like the length of a foam roller, but it has handles in it. That's my favorite thing to do these with. And it's just got this big, like swingy force to it. Feel all of my stabilizers stabilizing when I use that guy. So if you go to the gym and you have a long thing there and you've never known what to do with it, this is a good option. All right. One more thing in this set, we're gonna do windmills. So 5 to 15 pounds is a good windmill weight. It's an oblique exercise, but it taxes your shoulder, which is why it's hard to hold a lot of weight for this. So one arm is holding the weight up above your head. Your legs are pretty wide. And then towards the hip that goes, whatever that side is, you're gonna stick your hip out to that side and reach down a little bit in front of your leg so that there's like a straight line right here on the side of your body. And you're gonna focus on lifting yourself back up with your oblique. So it's down and control and stretch, lift up with your oblique. Let's do 8 each side. This is one of those exercises where the weight is tricky because you don't want your shoulder to get too fatigued, but also not enough weight. You kind of not get like feeling the extent of what you could feel in this exercise. Also, this is one of the ones where a heavier weight helps you stretch a little bit more. But it's also really good for our shoulder stabilizers, which is like, that's the best thing to do for our rotator cuffs is to just help them stabilize things. All right, once you get 8, we're gonna switch sides. Hi, Husky. Hi, baby. Hoping you guys feel the stretchiness of this, like in a similar kind of part where we did our sunflowers, kind of building on that. All right, once we get 8, we're gonna go back to hip cars and we're gonna hold a weight if we can. Amber Benny's just watching you. So cute.
What's a good substitute for hip cars?
What's wrong with your hips? But they just don't do it? can you just do the thing where you lift your heel up? Like literally just this. Lifting your heel up and just activating that muscle is a good substitute. When I've done this and I just do this part of the exercise and I lift my foot up, my glute med is sore the next day. And that's the point of this. Like the swinging around is good because you're getting the range of motion like all the way through, but the bigger point of hip cars is just this glute med activation and isolating it. Because when we do monster walks, we're doing glute med, but we're not isolating it. So it's not getting like the majority of the attention that it does on something like this. So to just focus on that is a good sub for hip cars if your hips are just really not feeling that. Also, just as a note, your hips are not going to like hip cars. So don't think that they will. Chris, see if you can get your leg planted farther back. Yeah, like that. That's more fun, right? Okay. Next, the back lunge with a twist. I'm going to add a little bit extra. So you guys have an option. You can, well, first of all, finish these up. We're also going. But you can stick the same thing. You can get heavier weight, or the thing that I like to do with my big thing. Actually, I'm just going to use one of these. I like to do walking these things because it really forces you to, I don't have a lot of space to walk here, but if you do, it forces you to use more stabilizer. So like I'll start up here and then I do my lunge, twist, lift this knee up, lunge, twist, other knee up. And then you really get to feel the stabilization that's happening because you're going straight to your knee up and you have to use it all throughout your whole body. And I just really like this exercise. So I have a long guy, which is nice because it doesn't hurt my shoulders to be wide above my head, where it's harder for your shoulders to get range of motion above your head if they're narrow. So that's why the wide thing is good. But otherwise, what's up?
Do you think a body bar or the TRX bar?
Body bar. Yeah. This is a body bar for those of you guys wondering. It's like this, a bar, and it's soft, and this one is 9 pounds. So that's a good thing for weight, is these above your head things. They get real tiring when they're heavy. But going right into that knee up, even if you don't have space to walk, is like, it's just a ton of extra activation. Okay. Everybody's looking good. If you can add more weight, if your shoulders are like feeling like they can handle more weight on the windmills, see if you can do that. And just the reason it's worth trying it is because you'll feel the extra little stretch that you can get with heavier weight. Go 8 each side again. Remember to stick your hip out. That's an important part of this process. It'll help you get more range of motion. Your legs out more. If you're not able to get any range of motion, that will help. And then remembering to reach just a little bit in front instead of directly to the side. Okay, for the next exercise, this is one where if you're doing this in a gym where you have weights, this is one where we could do some heavier weights on, but we also don't have to. So we're gonna do a squat to press. 2 dumbbells is a good thing to have. Chris, you're good with a kettlebell, a heavier kettlebell, like just for the pressing is fine. But what we're gonna focus on is that we want our legs to do a lot of the assistance of our press. This is also a good exercise to do where you sit your butt onto something. Like you could just do a squat to press here like that, but a lot of times when we have the weight in front of our body and we can't be looking down because we have a weight in front of our body, our knees are gonna try to do this kind of situation and we really don't want that to happen. So the bench thing or whatever you could sit down on is good because it just makes sure that you're sitting back and that your knees aren't coming forward. But if you don't need that and you're like, don't worry, I got a whole good situation going on with my proprioception, then you're fine. You just grab your weight. We're gonna do 15 reps. I want you to focus on making this all one motion so that your legs are assisting you in lifting this weight up. So you should be able to press more than what you could if you weren't squatting first because of the help of your legs. And you should notice when you're doing anything like this, it's a compound movement where we have multiple different parts of our body participating in the movement. You should notice your core stabilization just doing its thing, which is kind of the whole point. Well, that's one of the points. There's lots of points of everything. Okay. All right, next one. We are going to hold a weight at our chest and we're gonna side shuffle back and forth. And it's gonna work on the whole core stabilization thing. And then you're gonna notice, oh, my arms really matter for running, which is, not that, you don't need to notice that, but it's just one of the things you might notice. So we're gonna do this for 45 seconds. All right, so you're gonna hold your weight and we're just holding it and side shuffling, that's it. It's not anything in particular. So ready, go. And your side shuffles can be as long or as not long as you have space for. The more turning you do, the better actually, because that stopping and starting is really when we work our lateral muscles the most. So shorter side shuffle bursts are better for this exercise. Focus on keeping your core engaged. Don't let the weight pull your back into rounding or pull you into bending over. Breathe into your diaphragm. This is a good place to practice that. We're going to want that to eventually translate to running. Okay. Time. Okay, last one in the set. Okay, so we're gonna do inchworms. You could do these in place or not in place. I'm gonna do them in place just because I don't have a ton of room. But you're gonna bend over so that you're stretching first. Walk your hands out into a push-up. Do 3 push-ups right there. And then once you've done your 3, the in place thing is you walk your hands back up. You can either stand up or not if you want to give your lower back a break. You can stand up or not. Come back down. Next 3. So 6 reps, meaning you're doing 18 push-ups. And if you're moving, once you're done your push-ups, then you would walk your feet up to your hands and then go forward. That would be what the moving ones would look like, but it doesn't matter. You do it either way. So a lot of good stretchy things in this set today. I used to always make people answer if an exercise felt good, and nobody really knew how to answer to that. I see mine might be the only one that likes them. So just done with that question. So when you guys are done your inchworms, we're gonna go back to squat to press. If you have heavier weights available, grab heavier weights. See what you can press up above your head using the momentum from your legs. 15 reps again. Don't be afraid to use a thing to sit your butt onto. You guys who are not sitting your butt onto something, you guys all look like you have pretty good form going on. Okay, we're gonna side shuffle, and we have another option because I like to keep it interesting. Our second option is to hold a weight overhead for as long of the 45 seconds as you can. And you will notice when you hold a weight overhead while you're moving, how much your core has to work, which is a good time. So ready? Go. And if you were ambitious and you started with a weight over your head and then your shoulders are dying, you can bring it to in front halfway through. The second that you start to compromise your form and you start to not have good hip position and all those kinds of things, take the weight down. Okay, stop there. One more set of inchworms with 3 push-ups, your 6 reps again. Keep taking your time on the stretchy part. All right, guys, when you're done, grab some water. We have one more set. And on our last set, we're just going to use a mini band with the loop band. That is our one piece of equipment for both of these exercises that we're going to do. So your mini band is going to start off around your knees, and we're going to get on our hands and knees and do fire hydrants. So this exercise, we're gonna do just 10 each leg. So focus on range of motion, focus on not bringing your leg up forward, but keeping that 90-degree bend in your hip and going straight up that way. 10 reps. Also, don't let your lower back sink down too much like this. Keep a nice neutral spine. When you're lifting your leg up, don't let your body lean to one side just to get more range of motion. See if you can keep equal pressure in your hands. Okay, and then when we've done 10 each side, just slide the band down a little bit farther towards your ankles. And we're gonna do 20 plank jacks. So you're gonna have your hands up on your hands, up in a plank. A plank jack means you go out and back in. We got 20 of those. Don't want your butt go too high up in the air. Once you've done your 20, we're just doing one more of each of these. So you can bring your band right back up to your knees. 10 more each side. Fire hydrants. I always have a tendency on these to do like too much of this anterior pelvic tilt thing. So I'm constantly having to remind myself to get back into a neutral spine. Neutral spine and neutral hip tilt, they kind of go together. So if tomorrow the sides of your butt are not sore, you either have super strong glute meads, in which case you probably are not a triathlete, or you did it wrong. And then you'll have to call me and we'll figure out what you did wrong. All right, when you're done your 10 each side, we got 20 more plank jacks. You can add in the like up part of a half burpee if you want. You can go like out, in, up, back. Or you could stick with plank jacks, whatever feels right. All right, and then when we're done, just flip over onto your back. We're just gonna do this one stretch today, but while your heart rate's up a little bit, you don't wanna be still right away. You wanna keep your body blood flowing a little bit. So let's just reach out to one side, try to hit your hand. Reach out to the other side, try to hit your hand. So you're stretching all these muscles that we worked today and your lower back. Just do however many make you happy. Go whatever pace feels right. You can also do this thing in yoga where they tell you to get up by rocking yourself up and back, and it kind of massages your lower back, and you can get maybe your legs lift over your head a little bit if that's available. And then we're not going to do the hip flexor stretch today, but you should just also always do the hip flexor stretch. When you have one knee up and you squeeze your glute, just do that all the time. And we're done. Great job, guys.